We have one final speaker tonight, and he has a special message for all of us. At the risk of showing my age, I will say that it was only yesterday that I bought my ticket and saw him on Broadway in M. Butterfly. But he's probably better known as the Tony Award-winning actor and star of the TV show Law & Order SVU. He's also the recipient of the All-Deaf 1991 Justice in Action Award. And just a few weeks ago, he attended the White House State Dinner, sitting at the head table with President Obama, Chinese President Hu Jintao, former Presidents Clinton and Carter, just to name drop a little bit. Oh, and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Again, it says something about his character that when I saw him tonight, gave him a big kiss on the cheek and stepped on his foot. He was like, "Hi, Juju, great to see you." Ladies and gentlemen, B.D. Wong.
Hi. Hello. I, too, would like to take the spotlight that has been thrust upon me and cast it onto All Deaf in a minute. First thing I would like to say, a couple of things about this bizarre trip to the White House. I mean, a wonderful, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I have a little bit of a guilty confession to make about it, as follows. When I was notified that I was to be invited by the President and Mrs. Obama to the state dinner honoring Hu Jintao, I was asked who I was going to bring as my guest. And I immediately thought that I wanted to bring someone who could sit at, well, I didn't know I was sitting at the head table, that's a whole other story, but who would come with me and be able to hold their own, and I had kind of fancied bringing a formidable Chinese-American person who, that I admired myself. And the sad part of the story is that I was 5 minutes away from calling Margaret Fung and saying, "Margaret, how would you like to come to Washington, D.C. and meet the President and Mrs. Obama?" when I remembered my mother. I'm sorry. And you know, that is, for those of you who don't know, that might be an example of the difference between a Chinese person and an American-born Chinese, ABC. The Chinese person, you say, "The President and Mrs. Obama would like to invite you to the White House. Who would you like to bring as your guest?" And he says, "My mother." And the American-born Chinese person says, "Oh, I don't know. Ouch! Oh, my mother." And it was a magnificent experience for the two of us in our relationship. I will never forget it. It was magical in many, many ways. There are lots of, speaking of social networks, see, Shri, he can't even get off the phone. He's like social networking to the nth degree. But on my Facebook, B.D. Wong Facebook fan page, there are these incredible pictures of my mother with all these wild people, including Bill Clinton, who was so hot and who, like, kind of came on to my mother. I mean, like, he was, like, really smooth and charming and sang to her. And came very close to turning her into the closest equivalent of a 82-year-old Chinese-American Monica Lewinsky. Almost. No, there was no funny stuff, but it was amazing. Those pictures are available. But the thing about going to, no, not those pictures. But she saved the dress. Oh, across the line, right? The line was here, I crossed it. But I will like to say one last thing about that, and is that, you know, bringing a Chinese-American woman with you to the, oh, and by the way, my mother was not a tiger mom. And I'm so glad we have a name for that now, aren't you? She was not a tiger mom, but she was very strict. She was like a bobcat mom, I think. Anyway, the way that people responded to her as she walked on my arm throughout the White House was absolutely wonderful. And that was just the greatest thing about bringing your mother to the White House. There are some downsides to bringing a Chinese-American mother to the White House. And one of those is that you have to stay with her the entire time, or she will take anything that is not firmly fixed. After the entree was served, the waiters come around to the tables and they remove the gold eagle that holds up your place card, which is beautifully calligraphed. And they take the place card off the gold thing and they withdraw all the gold things. And when they did this, I thought, oh, thank God they did that. Because we're walking into the White House. And I noticed that my mother is carrying an evening clutch that I gave her when I was like 7 years old. And it's very kind of beaded, dynasty, oversized evening bag. And I said, I can't believe you still have that. That's really sweet that you still have that. And she says, I love this bag, but it doesn't hold very much. And I said, well, what is it gonna hold? You know, it's got your mints and stuff in it. And then she just smiled. And she later said, I will say to you, she later said, I'm so mad that they took that little eagle away. Because I was going to put my place card in my bag and say that I thought it was stuck to it permanently. I am really here to say, Gong Hei Fa Choi, Happy New Year to you all. I am a very proud supporter of All Deaf. I'm a very, very proud recipient of the Justice in Action Award. I love this organization and its leader with all of my heart. I believe in everything that it does. And I think one of the most elegant and wonderful gestures that we can all make is to take the Chinese New Year red envelope that is on our table and make a contribution to All Deaf in whatever way that we feel comfortable. I was shopping today in Chinatown because I'm a very good Chinese boy and very cheap. And I was buying stuff for my Chinese New Year Jade Emperor's birthday dinner, which is on Thursday. And I was thinking, gosh, you know, there are a lot of Chinese, there are a lot of great the Chinese cuisine is considered the great cuisine, one of the great cuisines of the world. But of course, the stereotype is that we don't make very good desserts, right? You know, fortune cookies and lousy, gloppy, soupy things that you drink that are sweet, and none of the white people ever like them. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe for this dinner I'll make sesame cookies, because sesame cookies are kind of middle of the road and everybody likes them. So I was in Chinatown buying materials for things like sesame cookies and all the other stuff that I'm making later, and I was very pleased. I walked by this store, and I saw these cookies in a tin. And I walked to the corner, and then I thought to myself, wait a second, did I just see what I thought I saw? And I walked back, I did a double take, and I brought the cookies to show you. Who has seen these cookies? I mean, you may recognize the package, okay? These cookies, cookie rolls, okay? This is the perfect example of the wide rift between Chinese Americans and Chinese Chinese. The name on these cookies is Ching, C-H-I-N-G, Key, K-E-E brand. Chinky. Chinky cookies. The chinkiest cookies of them all. Buy yours today. So of course I had to buy this just so that I could keep the tin in my house. And all I really want to say is that really I'm just here to, Margaret said she tried to make them laugh or something like that because, you know, of course she should never have asked that because look what I've done. She created a complete monster. But if you have been remotely amused, please show your love for me and for All Deaf by making a contribution in that little red envelope. It is an extremely meaningful gesture which will touch more people than you can ever know. The recipients of tonight's awards are examples of the kind of fine work that All Deaf does on a daily basis. Organizations like All Deaf are there because people like me and many of you don't do what they do. And so we must support them so that they continue to do these wonderful, brave, and important things. Juju and Shri have done a wonderful job. I just have to say in closing, thank you very much. You guys are great every year. I'm always very happy to see you. I only have one complaint from the African American people at my table, that Brer Rabbit was missing from the list of notable rabbits. This is not from me, this is from them. You can take this up with them. They have brought this up. Thank you and good night.